Good morning. Welcome all to another episode of Eureka Moments by eCirkle. As many of you know by now, our endeavor is to try and bring some impactful people to the show and try and understand their journey, possibly inspired by some Eureka moments that they might have had in their lives. And today we have a very interesting personality with us, Priya Goutham, who's been my dear friend for the last few years. A lady who dons multiple hats, strategist, an educationist, startup founder, has played CXO roles, manages a beautiful family. So there's so many things that's happening with Priya, and hopefully today we'll all get some sneak peeks as to what really makes her kick and make her strong here. Hi, Priya.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for consenting to be with us on the show, Priya. I've known you for a few years now and very inspiring in terms of what you do. As I mentioned in the introduction, right, you don many hats. And somehow I get this gut feeling that a lot of this makes you a very big picture person, right? So just asking you, are you one or are you as fascinated by the tiny details when you look at things?
Thanks, Ram, first of all, for giving me this opportunity. It's lovely to be here, more from a perspective over what I feel and what I've done. So I think it also takes a lot of time and experience to be what you are today. And I think that is what I gained. And I waited for that moment to be right for me to sort of look at what I can do as a multitasking person. And it's very good to always manage family life, work life. And there's always this conflict between, if you're very good at work, you are not good at family. So these are things that grapple around. And so that was one thing that I always said, I must give time to both. And that's how I've been able to manage. And I always allocate time for what I want to do with family, with friends and work. And I'm a thorough professional if it comes to work and a fun person to be when it's family.
Super. And I'm definitely seconding everything you say because I've been a recipient of how professional you are when it comes to work and how hospitable you are when it comes to hosting people. Going back to your the question I had, right, of being the bigger picture person to somebody involved in tinier details. I asked you this question specifically, Priya, because as a woman, and I've been in corporates like you for many years, and I'm dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs. There is this opinion that many women leaders get bogged down by the details, and the bigger picture sometimes is lost. And I'm not saying that this is true. This is probably a myth, and this is just a perception. I just want you to give your opinion on how you see this, and probably just give your narrative on how to balance the both.
Right. So whenever, you don a hat of a corporate honcho, you know that the company has a vision and you need to foster that vision into what you have to do today. Mm-hmm. And so you break down the tasks in such a way that you have the vision on the top and what you can do today. Mm-hmm. That way you align the teams and give them guidance as to periodically what they need to do, keeping the larger vision in mind. So that is what I was trained to be. And I try to apply that in my entrepreneurial journey as well. So they call the TAM, SOM an MVP, right? So I'm in the MVP moment when it is like an entrepreneur. You make that perfect product, whatever it is, the most efficient way, and look at how you can perfect it before you go to the bigger picture. So between a corporate and an entrepreneur, this journey is a very difficult thing to do because you always are still thinking that you have a very big, large market to service, but what is it that you're going to do today? So that being said, I get into details like an entrepreneur, but a vision like a corporate. So that's where I, sort of manage.
Well said, Priya. And we are working with a lot of women entrepreneurs in eCirkle, and our endeavor is to try and hopefully get the same perspective to all the women. Because as you rightly said, some people get branded as the big picture people, and some people get branded as the detail-oriented people. And I don't think the two of them can work in isolation, right? Unless you have a very strong team that can take direction and work with it. A small segue. I know education is very close to your heart, and you've been doing a lot of things. You represent Virginia Tech in some leadership roles in India, and you're forging a lot of partnerships. Can you just demystify what exactly VTI is doing and how you're catalyzing some of the educational projects for them?
Right. So first of all, Virginia Tech is a 147-year-old institution. It's a land-grant university. they had a mission that they have to work with developing countries, and a part of their outreach in international affairs works in 5 continents. So we are one in India, we have one in Switzerland, we have one in Chile in South America, and in a few other places. But having said that, these 3 are operationally running. And India, I've been taken as a deputy director for education, for me to work with institutions where we can foster research as well as education on top of it. May it be corporate, may it be university. So this is the role that we would like to play here. And we have 20% of our work into outreach, wherein we work with meaningful projects that we can, like waste to wealth and so on and so forth. And the major chunk of it is, of course, in research. So research, education and outreach is our mandate in India, and I've been with them for over 8 years now, both in terms of supporting as well as part of Virginia Tech in the earlier avatar. So now being a deputy director here, what we do with the universities is we work with them on different programs. One is to inculcate global practices in Indian scenario so that the students are globally recognized and understanding is much better even before they go and do the higher education. So that's one way. The second part of it is most of our institutions do not focus on research. So our focus is to get them to do research a lot with the faculty we do, and we collaborate with them in writing papers or taking to newer pastures which they wouldn't have even seen. So global problems solved locally. So some of those things.
Oh, these words are music to my ears, because eCirkle is all about bringing global solutions to local startup problems.
Yes.
So I see a lot of connect here. You also wear the hat of donning some senior leadership roles for FICCI.
Yeah.
FICCI FLO, and a lot of focus on women. Can you just give us some insights on what exactly is the focus there?
Yeah. So with FICCI FLO, it's a fairly large organization, as you might be aware. We have about 19 chapters, 11,000 plus membership base across countries, South, North, East, and West. Having said that, I play 2 roles. One as a chapter head for the startup cell here, and as a governing board member in the startup cell, heading mentorship in the national level. So these 2 are something which I've been working on for the last 3 years. Excitingly, there are 3-4 things that I did as a part of my mandate. One is to bring again global education to entrepreneurs. So we worked with certain partners like IIM's NSRCEL, Stanford Seed Program, wherein we are able to get quality training for entrepreneurs to go to the larger picture. They would have had an MVP, but they need to get to the next level. Right. So how do they go about? So that structured environment really helped a lot of entrepreneurs across the country. And we did have in the first cohort itself, one of them to be in the top 20. So there was potential that needed to be recognized, and that's what we worked on. And in mentorship, we do a lot of work with training mentors as to how should they mentor. Because it's not like, that I'm taking this person under my wing and I can do anything. But there's a parity in the way you de-link yourself from the business, but be very passionate about what they want to do. So that's the kind of a difference that we did. So these programs were sort of worked around to be able to give to a larger network of people this, dissemination of education.
So at any given point in time, how many women entrepreneurs come out of FICCI FLO, and what is your larger vision?
So the cohort sizes are varying. So every year we open the applications because there are new members who are joining. So on an average, we have about 500 plus members across the country with different kinds of, strength of startups. So some could be just an idea. So idea to ideation, then somebody who's done the ideation, then they need to go to the next level. And some of them are very established entrepreneurs who need to go to the next leap of getting funded, or probably they need more intervention in terms of understanding the financials better or a replicable model. So it depends on what stage they are, we structure them into that program accordingly.
So you've done very senior roles in corporate, and then you run your own startup, and then you're part of FICCI. When I was in corporate, I used to always feel that many management roles were well suited for women, but the nature of the challenges we have in India makes it very difficult for women to even volunteer to do those roles. Right?
Yeah.
Because now, do you see some of that changing in the entrepreneurial setup? Because they probably have a little more flexibility. They probably don't have to work odd hours, but they probably can devise things their own way. So do you see some shift happening in terms of women taking on more leadership roles through the entrepreneurial route?
Of course, I mean, that's, I think last few years has been a tremendous growth in terms of what women, are capable of doing. Not, mentioning that they can't take leadership roles, but I think at every segment wise, people have challenges.
Right.
It could be, a guilt feeling that I'm not able to look after my children or my family, so I'm not able to go to the next level. So I think that is a clear cut role of a mentor to really put them into that pedestal, saying that you are not doing anything wrong. You're earning for your family, so it's still fine.
Correct.
So those guilt feelings are still there in a lot
Guilt has
of
to be replaced with pride.
Right. And that's what I think is something people have to look forward to and see.
Right.
And I purely believe that women can be best leaders, and I completely agree to that concept there, because they're multitasking. Simple as that. And for an entrepreneur, you need to be multitasker.
Right.
You need to sort of divide your day and the role that you're playing and play it well. And that's what I think is important. The other thing that I find challenging is women taking leadership roles in the companies today. Either it is the other woman is not able to see the same thing within this,
Right.
or there could be challenges of their growth because of moving to locations, traveling. All these probably are hampering the growth of that role. While we all want to sit and say, okay, we'll move the 6% to 8%, I do not know whether we are all knowing the reality in the ground, which is, I always say this to everybody, saying that a woman going or stepping out of the house is an ecosystem. The family has to support her.
Right.
And the family has to support, the children have to know what they have to do for women coming up.
Right.
Today's generation, I think, are much, much more forward thinking than what we had in the past, wherein they feel that women's place is to be in the house.
Right.
And that's something which is still bothering me a lot, and I don't know how I can help these women. So
Well said. And to add to this, Priya, there's always this unconscious bias that people carry,
Yes.
Especially in corporates.
Yes,
right?
yes.
There have been so many conversations that I've been privy to when a man says, hey, you can't consider that girl for this role because she has commitments.
Yes.
Not even give her a chance to say that she doesn't want to do it. Right?
Yeah.
The intent is nice, because this guy thinks that she already has a truckload of things to do and she may not be able to do justice to the role.
True.
But I think we have to slowly get away from the unconscious bias. Yeah. So there's one thing that you would say as an important characteristic for a woman to not only take on leadership roles but actually thrive in them. What would that be based on your own personal experience?
Tough question. I think women excel in their comfort zone, I feel. So if they're comfortable doing something, they really excel. But what stops them, and most of the time I'm counseling a lot of them, is that they think that health is a reason that they cannot work. And I feel fitness should be a regime in that case. So if that is sorted out, I think you look forward for every day to be a happy and a joyous way that you work. And I think women should really get out of the shackle of, I cannot do this and health is the only reason that they take setback. Definitely no. And for me, it's a concept that people should really get out of this and then say, have a positive outlook in life.
But through your journey for the last 20-25 years, donning various roles, has there been a Eureka moment for you which led you into the path that you've taken of just being this multifaceted person?
There were, a very classic episode that I remember when I was working in a company a few years ago. That's where I, hung my boots and saying that 2015, come what may, I'm going to leave this.
Right.
I saw a lot of people coming, working there. And there was, I think, some kind of, I won't say malpractice, but some way they were not true to the commitment that they chose. I always felt that business can be ethical as well. And that is what was an Eureka moment for me.
Wow.
When I came out and I started my own startup, our DNA was to be ethical. And that's something I will always take with me till I'm, reaching my grave. Having said that, you can be really brilliant. I mean, you have to be resilient. That is one thing that I've learned. Second thing, you have to be master of all when you're an entrepreneur. Not that I'm going to be specialized only in marketing. You should know marketing, legal, financial, and management of people and human resources. So these are different, hats that you need to don while you are an entrepreneur. Okay, fine, you can go ahead and get expert advice, but end of the day, you have to run your own business. So you should know all these things. So it's an executive MBA, fast-tracked in few months, I would say, which makes you a great entrepreneur. Yeah, that's my take on it. And for me, the Eureka moment, of course, was being ethical.
Yeah, super. Well said, Priya. In fact, one of my first bosses, when I joined a large bank, told me, Ram, being ethical is not a choice. Running the business is a choice.
Yes.
You can always decide not to run the business that you are in.
Absolutely.
But being ethical is not a choice that you make.
Correct.
It has to be inbuilt in your bloodstream, and that's how you build communities, and that's how you build societies.
Yeah.
Super. One last thing, because I know you also don the hat of helping people brand and market themselves better. And this is something I've seen, very often. Men are very comfortable branding themselves as something, even if they only do 10% of what they're supposed to do. And women are very happy to do the work and stay in the background.
Right.
Your thoughts on how can women start looking at branding through a new set of lenses, right? And how important it is in the new age.
Yeah.
And it's all about also showing what you do, right? And I see that as a pattern with many of the startup founders too, right?
Yeah.
If there are, I've seen companies that are 4 founders, or 3 are men and 1 is woman. And the woman is always in the background. She's doing all the good work. She doesn't come up and sometimes, talk very eloquently. Not that she doesn't know it,
but
it's a stance that some of them take. Any specific branding suggestions you have on women who are actually taking up entrepreneurship?
So we, me and a partner of mine, we both have decided that we will help women to do something called as brand using technology. So we call it brand tech.
Okay.
And we've actually done these sessions for almost about 300 plus people across the country. And we just do it for the passion of just driving this brand as a part of their DNA that they should remember. It's not about just showing off that I'm on a holiday and put a picture, but how do you sort of physically showcase your brand as an individual, as an entrepreneur, or as a professional.
Right.
It can be anything. Right. Brand is something is you. You are a brand. The moment you think you're a brand, right, you'll do everything right.
Right.
So I believe that this is one thing which is something we all, we've been doing this. Today with the advent of AI, a lot of this can be done very, very beautifully. And so we also train people on using the free tools and see how they can actually brand themselves.
Super.
And everything can be done, if you know how to do it. When it comes to a larger scale, of obviously you have to take professional help, but today it can be done. And 2-3 tools that I would use is, of course, ChatGPT. A lot of it can be done very well using the right prompts. So important thing is to remember the four magic formula. What you're doing, what you want the AI to do, what's the outcome you're expecting, and what is in for you. If you put this as a LLM prompt, I think you will get your answer. And that's my tip to people.
This is my homework for tonight. Thanks, Priya. It's been wonderful talking to you. And hoping to see you in Mysore sometime soon.
Sure.
I'm sure there's an audience waiting to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for